Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host Jacob Verdin, joined by my guy G-Sportz. G, what's up? How you feeling?
Another day in the neighborhood, man. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Got a lot of interesting topics to talk about today. We're gonna start things off with uh, breaking news that happened this morning with Jordan Arsenal getting a new job. Shout out to our guy Jordan, hell of a guy. We'll talk about LSU's recruiting update, going to the Tigers punching their ticket to Omaha. Nice series yesterday. The Bats woke up, and we'll talk some NBA Finals as well. G. Let's open it up with the Jordan Arsenal discussion, though. Pop this up on the screen. If you don't know, now you know. Personal staffer got hired by athletes first. He's going to assist in adapting to the revenue sharing era of college football, which is rather confusing. G. So I mean, having a guy like this on your team, on your staff, is going to alleviate some of those concerns, alleviate some of those confusions. Right. The transition is going to be. It might not be as smooth for most teams, but when you got somebody like this, I think he's perfect for this role. Going to give kids the real advice that they need. Sometimes kids aren't getting that advice in today's age. You know what I mean? Some people are trying to make things murky or not as clear. I feel like this is one of the biggest assets that they could have in this spot. Now, that's a double-sided sword, right? Because that means LSU lost a huge asset in that department. And if you ask me, I feel like it is going to be impossible to replace somebody like this. So now you're just naturally going to have to move on, and you might see a small ripple effect in terms of recruiting, in terms of player development. Because if you look at his official title, it was Director of Recruiting, Communication, and External Relations. But I mean, I know the connections he had with the players, with the staff, with the overall organization. It ran deep. He was a big part of everything, and I feel like going forward, there might be a little bit of a growing pain period for the Tigers. What do you think this means for LSU going forward, and what's next?
First off, I want to say, man, I'm proud of Jordan. Been knowing him for a long time, and he is somebody that's one of the most ambitious individuals I've ever been around. Just thinking back, thinking back way on his journey when he was coaching high school football, and to see him transition into college football and now get into the agency space, it was a long time coming. I think that when you look at some of the elite programs around the country, sometimes I think the head coaches, even the position coaches, get too much of the credit sometimes for the success of the program when you're talking about wins and losses, and when you talk about getting certain recruits in that building. Jordan Osimo is one of those people that did a lot of work behind the scenes when you talk about player relationships, when you're talking about making sure these recruits and their families are feeling at home when they come on visits, giving them the game, regardless if they coming to LSU or not. Uh, I've had tons, I'm talking about tons of families talk about how Jordan played a crucial and essential part into why they chose to come to LSU. I've had tons of families tell me that it was hard to tell LSU no because of Jordan Osimo, because of how real and authentic he was, and how he gave them the game, and how he didn't try to sugarcoat things to them and sell them a dream. And I think that's what made his relationship with people so crucial, and why I think LSU was gonna miss that. If it was me, I would have tried to figure a way to keep him. I'm sure he communicated that to Coach Kelly and the rest of the people in that building, that what his plans was to move on to the agency space with athletes first, who was, when you talk about ranking agencies in the around this industry, they probably like one or two, depending on who you're talking about.
They're huge.
Yeah, yeah, they led by Ty Franks, who is, in my opinion, arguably the best agent in the game. Has negotiated tons of deals with some of the top tier athletes. When you talk about Derek Stingley, you just, I could go on and on about the different players they have on the athletes first. And adding Jordan is going to make them even more of a juggernaut in the agency space. So I think LSU should have made more of an effort uh, to keep Jordan at home. I don't know all the details of what Jordan wanted to be able to say he was going to stay with LSU, but I thought LSU should have made sure that they kept him at home. I think that they won't feel the wrath of not having him in that building for about another year. All right. When you start seeing that the leg work that he was doing around the clock is not being done anymore, I think they're gonna realize it. I think they're gonna realize it. And look, it's business. You can't make everybody happy. And that's not to say that LSU didn't try to keep him home. I haven't had those conversations with Jordan about, what went into those discussions. But if it was me, and I guess I'm being a little biased because I know the makeup of Jordan and I know the entirety of all the different things he's done since he's been at LSU. I would have tried to make sure that he didn't leave out of that building, because not having him there, um, I think they're gonna realize that leave at him leaving um won't benefit the program going forward.
Especially in this part, G. I mean, things are about to get confusing. NIL and all this, pay for play stuff was hard to navigate. It's gonna get even more murky. The House bill just got passed this weekend, so now obviously the revenue sharing will be put in place. Every team gets around what $21 million to divvy up. LSU's football program's gonna get 13 million of that portion. There's gonna be a lot of other people that are gonna have to, divvy up that role and put on some extra caps. And like you said, yeah, you're definitely gonna see some of the effects of that. I wanted to dive in more in terms of athletes first and the reach that they had. I posted a graphic earlier in terms of their athlete representation. They have 102 Pro Bowlers, 8 Super Bowl MVPs, and 115 first-round picks. You name Jalen Ramsey, there's Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, all kind of athletes. They've negotiated over 2 billion with a B in contracts. I mean, that's money. Money talks, and I think this will be a great, fruitful situation for him as well. Once again, congrats to our guy Jordan Arsenal. This is a big deal. He definitely deserved it. Let's talk about some recruiting. Let's keep it, related. LSU's got camp season underway. And it's not over with. They've got the bulk of it done through June 7th, your 7-on-7 camp, your youth camp, your first elite camp. They had a kicking camp. But what do you think uh, stood out the most from this? Do you have any intel, any prospects, any big names you think that you can walk away from this with? Like, okay, yeah, they went on and proved themselves.
The only one that comes to mind is Elijah Haven. I know that Dunham was there for the 7-on-7 tournament. And I know Joe Sloan and Coach Kelly and the rest of their staff was paying close attention to Elijah. Uh, and, he is good as advertised. His daddy, Kwame, who I have a really good relationship with, uh, had a lot of discussions with Coach Kelly and Coach Sloan over the weekend. And I think that LSU is sold when you're talking about, could he be the future of the program once he gets to LSU? You talk about a kid that's 6'5", 220 pounds. I mean, his body is a specimen. All right. You just don't see a lot of quarterbacks that's built the way he's built. He's built like a linebacker in a sense, but he's lean at the bottom with some big quads. Has a strong arm, can move really, really good. Has that basketball background, right? That you look for in an athlete. And he has a good makeup for us character wise. Comes from a really, really good family, been around him a good bit of times. So I think that when you talk about checking all the boxes, Elijah Haven checks all the boxes. I think it's just gonna come down to his dad and his family just feeling comfortable with the staff and the direction of LSU's program. And I think a big part of this is, can Nussmeier take that next step this year? Because if he does and he ends up being a first round or even a second round pick, right? Now you can sell Mr. Kwame and Elijah on, look, we've had 3 quarterbacks come through this program that has been top 10, top picks in the draft. We've had 3 quarterbacks come through our program in the last 5 to 7 years that has took this team and took this program to new heights. Joe Burrow, Jay Downs, and now Garrett Nussmeier. You see what I'm saying? Why Elijah Haven can't be the next one. And so I think that's pivotal in the recruiting pitch when you talk about Nussmeier having a good year this year, because you don't want the rumblings to start with other teams using that against him, saying, look, Nussmeier Yeah, Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow had some good years in their second year as a starter, but that was an anomaly, right? Nussmeier's second year he struggled. He didn't have the year everybody thought he was going to have. Maybe it's they not developing him right. Maybe they got lucky with with Jaden Daniels because technically they can't really take credit for Joe Burrow. That was Ogeron on them on that staff, right? So having Nussmeier have success this year is going to play a big part into Elijah Haven choosing LSU, in my opinion. And look, when we talk about the NIL, right? Of course, they're gonna pay attention to that, but they're well off. All right. Elijah's parents do really, really well for themselves. I don't think money and NIL will be at the top of the totem pole when you talk about picking a school. I think they understand that he needs to be developed. He needs to be in the right type of system, and he needs to be around a type of staff that they could trust, and a staff that's going to be there longevity wise. So I think that's a big part into Elijah Haven choosing LSU, man. I think they're gonna be paying really close attention to how Nussmeier took another step in his second year as a starter.
And with that focus, I feel like that's somebody that you want to go all in on, put all the chips on the table for, not motivated by external things that, quite frankly, aren't going to always be there. That external motivation, sometimes, sometimes you got to look internal. Sometimes you got to add the intrinsic values that push you on the field, through the practices, hell, even in classes. I mean, the money ain't always going to get you through. You know what I'm saying? So that's a relieving aspect. Sticking around on quarterback prospects, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Bo Bentley because I mean, as the times grow, as the connection, I guess, gets deeper, it seems like he could be becoming more and more of a focus. I know we've been talking about it, and at first we weren't really sure on if it was someone that they would 100% target. A lot of things are going to change. You got Oklahoma in on the mix, and by the way, Oklahoma's NIL collective is deep, dog. They got a softball player that they're giving $1 million to, so it's like that's going to be something that's hard to compete with as well. Speaking of NIL, plus you never know what happens by the end of the year, G. You could have MVB and Michael Van Buren. You could have Hurley come out and shock some people and earn some stripes. Maybe they come in a game where LSU's in garbage time, or God forbid an injury happens, and maybe they get supplemented, and you're like, hey, yeah, I like what I see. Also, the transfer portal, that's wide open. You don't know who's going to
Jawan
be
Johnson,
entering it.
don't rule Jawan Johnson out.
8, yeah, exactly. He's another one of those tricky players that you could see his role grow as well. I guess I'm gonna ask you: do you think that they could potentially be focusing more on him, or is it still more of the same from what we talked about last?
Focal point on Bull.
On Bo Bentley, yeah. After the whole purple carpet event, they bring him with Hurley, Nussmeier, whatnot. As the time passes, as the connection grows, do you think that if it looks like he's a safer pick, and when I mean safer, I mean you're not going to have to use a bunch of resources on him. If he's another one of those players that's motivated by the connection, by the development, by things like that, is that somebody that they can focus on and bring in this class?
I mean, he's a really good quarterback. So if he chooses to come to LSU and he says he wants to commit, I know that staff is gonna take him. Me personally, I don't think that they're gonna go all in on both. Because Michael Van Buren, you gotta remember, he's probably gonna end up red shirting this year unless Nussmeier gets hurt, right? So he's gonna be a red shirt freshman after this year, right? So Colin Hurley, we're gonna be a red shirt freshman, right? Jawan Johnson gonna be a red shirt freshman. These guys are fairly young, and I don't think it's a necessity to get Bo in this class, in my opinion. Nah, we always got to think about kids transferring out and things of that nature. I get it. But I don't think they're going to go all in on Bo. And I think Bo and his family is probably looking at that too. Like, damn, Michael Van Buren is only going into his second year of college. Colin Hurley is only going into his second year of college. Jawan Johnson is only going into his second year of college. Or his family could be thinking to themselves, we way better than them three. So when we get there, we'll beat all three of them out. Who knows? But I just don't think the staff is gonna go all in on Boo. I think they're gonna recruit him. I think they're gonna tell him what he want to hear. But I don't think they're gonna throw the kitchen sink at him to make sure they get him committed and signed, sealed, and delivered on signing day. Just because of the makeup of how the room is set up and how young those guys are.
Makes sense. Got a lot of other prospects in terms of focus that you're gonna have to target in, like maybe Tristan Keys, maybe a Bowie Feaster. Smart strategy here. Real quick before we talk about NCAA baseball, everybody drop all your questions, comments, anything in the chat. Hit that like button. You know the drill. Live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're changing it to 1 p.m. Go follow my guy G on socials. Got everything linked in the description. Let's move into this though, G. They punched their ticket to Omaha. Look, it looked scary at times. Everybody was holding their breath, whether it be the regional or the super regional. But guess what? It's over with. You headed there. Peyton Manning, Omaha, Omaha. Punch your ticket. Hop on the plane. Get over there. LSU beat West Virginia in game 2, 12-5. And look, the rain was worrisome as well. Baton Rouge weather. I don't know what the hell is the deal with it, G. It's piss and rain 1 second, then you turn your back, and now it's sunshine, and then it flip flops back and forth, back and forth. A lot of people were confused on why the game even got pushed back. A little small explanation for you. They want like a 2 to 3 hour window of just continuous sunlight. Like if there's even a little tiny speck on that radar, they gonna push it back. And I feel like who cares at the end of the day? You know why the box stays packed? LSU fans are loyal. They're gonna go, down Nicholson or go on Highland, get a little bite to eat, maybe a couple drinks in them, get a little rowdy, come back to the box. And LSU plays better at night anyway. The later it gets, I feel like the better the offense goes. And speaking about the offense, they silenced all doubters. I ain't gonna lie, because we were questioning whether or not they're gonna be able to wake them backs up. Boy, I feel like this was an insane game. Let me bring up this statistic. I love the deep dive in the stats. Check the box score. 91% of their runs, G, came in the second and seventh inning. They scored 12. 5 was in the second. 6 was in the seventh. Phenomenal performance. This is LSU's second College World Series trip in 3 seasons. First one since winning the national title. A couple of standout guys. Stephen Milam, Monster Milam, shout out to him. He went 2 for 4 RBIs. Jake Brown also put up 4 RBIs. He had a 2-run homer, 8th home run of the season. So he's not exactly a huge output in terms of that. But that's what this tournament and playoff baseball is all about, G. Sometimes you just got to step up to the dish, put your big boy pants on, swing that bat as hard as you can. You're going to need people that maybe didn't have a big role or maybe didn't have a big output or a lot of production this year to wake up and answer the call. And I think Jake Brown did it. Also, Bear Jones out of his slump. I was listening to Ben McDonald talk about it on the, in the game during his commentary. He was batting 3-hole prior to this series. They move him around the 5th hole. A lot of people don't think that's a big change, but it helps you alleviate that mindset. Now you're a little more comfortable, and boom, he's able to, ball out a
Because he
little
was
bit.
on a slump.
A big slump, and it happens. And I'm glad that he's out of it. And he pulled through. Anthony Ianson, 11-2 on the year, earned the win with 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, only 5 hits, 7 strikeouts. In relief, Cooper Williams came in. Chase Shores ended it out quick. 1, 2, 3 strikeouts. Boom, shut down West Virginia. And Jay Johnson ended the entire night with this quote that I find a little motivating. G, he says he can't wait to go chase a national championship. Where their eyes are set. What was your reaction to this series and how you feeling headed in to Omaha?
I think, Ianson, the way he pitched on the other night, it kind of goes to what I was talking about, right? You depending on your 2 aces to be flawless in a sense. And he wasn't. He gave up 5 runs?
Let's see.
Total, I gave up 5 runs. I think he gave up
4.
1 run in the second inning. I think he gave up 4 runs in the 4th inning or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
4 runs, 5 hits. That's what we got in the box score right here.
Right, 4 runs and 5. I think he gave up 3 runs in 1 inning and 1 run in another inning. But anyway, you expect him to keep you 3 runs or less, maybe 2 runs or less, in this postseason, bro, because you didn't expect LSU's offense to be able to hit the ball the way they did. All right, and we talked about it. It's not a common theme for them to be able to score 8, 9, 10 runs a game. We expect them to be around 5, 6 runs, right? And so what Ianson pitching the way he pitched the other night, the offense saved him. They saved him, and going into Omaha, and getting ready to play Arkansas, he can't pitch like that. Those 2 aces gotta be on the A game, bro, because you can't expect LSU offense to bat like that day in and day out when they get to Omaha. I just don't think it's a common theme for them. I don't expect them to be that consistent. They 2 aces gonna have to be superb if they want to hold that trophy up.
And the ante is going to get upped because competition is near. We all know who's waiting in Omaha. If you don't know, Arkansas actually killed Tennessee in the Supers. Game 1,
And I picked
4-3.
Tennessee. I thought Tennessee was gonna have a good shot to win in that too.
It happens. I feel like the Razorbacks are not necessarily a sleeper, but they're one of the teams I feel like if we dial it back to LSU series, um, LSU obviously won it in the box. Shit, they run ruled them in game one, 13-3. But it's kind of, if you pull back and zoom out, if you look at the SEC standings as the year finished, they were the second team in the SEC, only behind Texas, I believe. So it's going to be hard in a sense to overlook them. I feel like they have that neutralizing power. And then look, in game two, they closed it out in convincing fashion, beat Tennessee 11-4. So as you were saying, G, the aces got to be acing. You don't got much room for error. You gotta obviously the bats. Look, if you're gonna go out here and score 8 to 12 runs, I'm gonna be clapping at the TV all damn night. You could be playing at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It don't matter to me. If I'm watching baseball like that, I'm tapped in. However, I don't want Arkansas to go out and get it back in blood because I'm sure they got a bad taste in their mouth and I'm sure they're ready to prove something. So this is going to be an interesting series. And we talked about it earlier. Look, in terms of the odds, it was LSU and Arkansas. And now they're meeting in the first round of Omaha. So they are going to be battling each other out. Two of the biggest SEC dogs.
I will
Maybe
say
gonna fight.
this. I will say this. If LSU can score 8+ runs a game while they in Omaha, you might as well start getting their ring size right now. Start getting their ring size because that's just not something I expect from their offense, bro. I just don't expect that. And what they did against West Virginia, bro, I was surprised. I just didn't expect them to have that kind of offense.
Yep. And in terms of LSU in their national championships, as of right now, the Tigers have 7. If you get number 8, now you're creeping into first place. You're creeping into being one of the best brands. And I don't know if you've seen the title of the stream. Why is LSU the best brand? Look at the baseball teams out here doing this. The football teams out here climbing into a playoff this year, potentially. Obviously, women's basketball, gymnastics. You got a lot of different facets, a lot of different areas where LSU is climbing to the top. I think it'd be hard to go against that claim, especially in a world where you gotta pitch everything. G, not everything's about money. Some things are about brands. Some things are about platforms, success. What have you done for me lately? The recency bias. A lot of stock is going to be put into that, if you ask me. Let's talk about the NBA Finals real quick. We're poking fun a little bit at the NBA. We were saying, where's the finals logo? Where's all this? Where's all that? Well, look, they popped it up for you for about a whole damn 5 minutes, right? And they rip it off, put the YouTube TV bell on it. But that's besides the point. Like you said, money, 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 money. But Oklahoma City came out in convincing fashion. I'm not going to lie. Game 2, everybody wanted them to answer. Everybody was wondering, where the hell were the Thunder? And they got it back huge. I believe it was a 16-point win. And look, it's rare for a lower seed to go up 2-0 on the road. All the odds stacked against you. I'll dial it back all the way to the 90s, 1995. You know who was the last team to do that, G? Be a lower seed in the finals, go up 2-0 on the road? Oh, H-Town. Shout out Hakeem the Dream. They did it against the Magic when they swept Shaq. But didn't happen here this season. Hard to stop the Thunder when they get going. If you look at this graphic I got up here, 5 scores over 15 plus. That's deep. It don't matter if you're a bench player, role player, starter, key player. They set the tone early. Went on a 14-4 run. Never looked back. As I said, covered a spread and damn near double. But look, Pacers did their job on the road, right? My theme for this in terms of how you keep this series competitive is you still won on the road. You steal that home court advantage. You bring it back to Indianapolis, and hopefully, in a perfect world, I would say not split those. I would say win both of them, and then you're probably going to get waxed in game 5, and then now you got a competitive push to maybe a game 7. I think if they split in Indy, it's going to be rough. I don't think you should walk back into Oklahoma City with a tied 2-2 because then it becomes a best of 3, and the odds aren't in your favor. Speaking of odds, they're sliding, they're changing. Thunder are minus 550 to win the finals as of right now. Pacers plus 410, if you ask me. Still way too high. I think that's crazy. I found a little inconsistency, G. I don't want to say go slam this, but if you're betting on the Pacers to win, why take them at plus 410 when Halliburton to win finals MVP is plus 650? Sure, they got Pascal Siakam. Sure, they got a lot of guys that might be able to, do a little Andre Iguodala moment and take it. But come on, bro. If the Pacers are going to win, you know who's going to have to put the Superman cape on. It's going to be Halliburton. What the hell? Go take that plus 650 if you're really feeling froggy. If you're going to bet on the Pacers. That's just my opinion. Like I said, game 3 in Indy. Thunder's 5-point favorites. Pacers plus 176 on the money line. Not horrible. Tyrese Halliburton in game 2, though, G. Held to 17 points. Defensive matchups are draining them. If you're Carlisle, what do you do? What do you say? How do you get them activated again?
I'm just I'm disappointed with how long Halliburton is taking to start being aggressive. And he did it in the first game, and it worked out in his favor. He was able to put his cape on in that fourth and will him to a victory. And I know we talked about how he does a lot of different other things throughout the game to impact it, but he has to be more aggressive trying to score the ball. You can't wait till you get down 18, 20 points to start trying to shoot the ball and be aggressive. I thought that hurt him in game two. And I know they made some runs and cut it back to 10-9, but you could tell OKC had a point of emphasis of saying we got to keep our foot on their neck. We can't get comfortable. We can't make sure these people start getting some confidence and start, dropping his lead down. Halliburton has to be aggressive from the first quarter. He has to be aggressive from the first quarter. And look, I know OKC is sending different coverages at him. They're sending different looks at him. I get it. But we gotta, as a staff, Indiana, they have to be more creative in saying, look, we're gonna throw, two stagger screens at the top of the key to let them come off and be able to give them some looks. They gotta do some different things to be able to get Halliburton to be more aggressive because he's their best playmaker. And when he's being a playmaker and he's touching the paint, and he talked about that. He said when he touches the paint, he feels good about it. Whether he's scoring it or he's making a play for somebody else. That has to be his mindset going into game three. I want to see Halliburton have at least 18 to 20 shot attempts, right? And it has to be early and often. I think if they do that, you won't see the Pacers get off to a slow start like they've had these first two games. But I'm gonna tell you, bro, when OKC had people like Caruso and Wiggins scoring the ball the way they did, you're not gonna beat them. All right, you know what Shea gonna give you. You know Shea gonna give you 30 plus or 25 plus every game. You know that, right? You know what Jalen Williams gonna give you 18 to 20. You know Shea came out. You know Shea gonna give you about 15 to 18, right? So you can't allow these other guys to get double digits. It's just too many people that you're gonna have to cover for. And I think that when the patients watch the film, I think they're gonna see that they gotta do a better job of keeping everybody else under control. You know what Shea gonna give you in those guys, but you can't let the role players get off. Right? You just can't happen, or you're not gonna have a shot in hell in this series. So I thought that was the biggest difference in game two. The role players just play out of their mind. They fed off that crowd. Defensively, they did a great job of swarming. You saw blue jerseys everywhere. You could just tell that the role players wanted to hold their end of the bargain. They didn't want it just to be on the big three in a sense when you talk about Shea, Jalen Williams, and Shea. They wanted to say, look, we gonna catch y'all slack. And you gotta think when you go on the road that those role players won't play the same. Not saying they can't have an impact on the game, but I don't anticipate Caruso having another 20-point game, especially on the road. I don't anticipate Wiggins, who barely plays, he spot plays. Some games he have DNPs. It just depends on how they feeling that night, right? You can't expect him to have 18 points on the road to Indiana. I don't see it. I still think Indiana has a really good chance to win this series. I just think that Halliburton has to have it in his mind. He has to be aggressive from the beginning, and if he does that, it's gonna make everybody else raise their level of play.
I agree. And if you dial it back to game one, look, that wasn't a walk in the park. Matter of fact, the Thunder, honestly, quite frankly, you always hear this analogy, and I'm not trying to discredit nothing or nobody's performances, but you do hear the fact that, hey, maybe the Pacers didn't win that game. The Thunder might have lost that game. And that's a real possibility in that instance. And then in game two, they show, hey, look, we ain't backing down. We ain't going to have that mistake happen twice. It'll be interesting to watch game three as it unfolds. Hopefully, it doesn't get pushed back and the Pacers go down 2-1 because then you lose the home court advantage that you just worked so damn hard to steal. Like, look, game one wasn't easy. Yeah, I wouldn't relinquish that power immediately. First game in Indianapolis. You know, our guy Pat McAfee going to be there tapped in, probably going to be ruffling some feathers on the sideline again. We'll see how it plays out, though. Hopefully, it don't come back to bite him. I'd keep your words short and sweet. You might have to eat them things. Let's talk about Olave real quick before we hop out of here. Quick, fast, in a hurry. Saints coach Kellen Moore comes out and silences the noise around the Olave trade. There was a lot of rumors, a lot of things. You even heard people like the Steelers making calls, but no dice in the noise. And this is smart. Like, look at the depth chart, G. This is your real only option in terms of pass target, primary receiver, clear cut wide receiver one. A lot of people are going to bring up the fact that he's banged up, injuries, or this or that. Look, when he's healthy, when he's 100%, he has dominant seasons, 1,000 yard seasons, high production, high yield. Um, the only thing I find interesting is the contract year. It's coming up in 2 seasons. It's still down the road, but it's not something that you want to ignore, right? Because the Saints are always strapped for cash. They're always in cap hell. Hopefully, with Kellen Moore and this new regime, they're able to figure it out. But the facts are the facts. This year, his salary is $1 million. Next year, it jumps to 15 million. I promise you, whenever it comes time to net cutting time, he's gonna get about what 30, 35 million, maybe even 40 million. Ain't no telling what the damn market's gonna be. So here's my question for you, G. Are they better off trading him for the future, stockpiling some draft picks, or do you put all the chips in on him?
Absolutely not. They better not even think about trading Chris Olave. All right. Um, when I say this is not me trying to, how I want to put this. I'm not trying to say I don't appreciate Alvin Kamara, right? I think Alvin Kamara has been a really, really good player for the Saints. I think he still has something left in the tank. But I think if you're going to trade anybody, I think it should be Alvin Kamara. All right, because he plays the running back position. And,
Mm-hmm.
when you start talking about guys going into the seventh, eighth, ninth year, right, you got to understand that at some point, Father Time going to start kicking in. And Kamara has battled some injuries over the last couple of years. We got to start planning for that drop off. And I think before you see the drop off, I think you ought to move on. And I think that when you talk about that running back position, you got Kendrick Miller coming back, who they say they're expecting a big year from, right? I think that the guy Neil they drafted from Kansas, I think he gonna surprise some people.
Oh yeah.
I think he's somebody that nobody's talking about because he was a 6th round pick,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think he's gonna be able to help that room. But I feel like Chris Olave name should not be the one that's coming up in trade talks. It should be Alvin Kamara. And you might as well make a move now before waiting a year too late where you can't get nothing from it for him. Right? I think if they decided they wanted to move on from Alvin Kamara, they probably can get at least a fourth, maybe a 3rd round pick. And that's value. That's
Oh hell
value.
yeah.
That's value. That's value. And so, but I think that Chris Olave, you trade him away. I mean, who we gonna throw the ball to?
Me,
Please let me know. Cedric Wilson, right? Should
Gabe
he?
Davis, if they sign him, that's it, bro. Ain't much.
I mean, you need Chris Olave to make this thing go. We already don't have a tight end, a legit tight end. So, he's our number one option on offense, and there's no way you trade him away. If you were gonna trade Chris Olave away, you should have traded him before the draft, and then we got your number one in the draft. Right?
Yep.
You don't wait till this time of the year to say we're gonna get rid of him. If you do that, you just let me know that you're trying to tank for the number one pick next year.
Might not even have to try to tank either. That's the sad part. But talking about waiting and talking about, being pushed, yeah, like, in terms of not having leverage or not having any type of value left, the Packers are gonna have to release Jair Alexander, dog, for the same damn reason because they know that they're not trying to pay that money. They know that they're running out of time, and they just gonna have to cut them. Ain't nobody making no deals. You don't want to fall into that situation. You don't want to fall into a spot where
Didn't he
everybody
just get,
behind your head.
didn't didn't he just get arrested?
I don't even know. Let me look
Yeah,
that.
I think Jair Alexander just got arrested.
Job money. Come on. I know they worried about the damn injury concerns and whatnot, but bro, it's a damn fan favorite for me, dog. I ain't gonna lie. Let me look this up. Hmm. Google says no. I don't know.
Somebody that might have been
Maybe
some. Damn,
uh,
I ain't want. Let me knock on wood. I ain't trying to wish that on Jair Alexander. It
that
wasn't him.
man, I got a whole job money jersey, bro. I'm gonna have to go jersey shopping. They doing me
Yeah,
wrong, bro. I got Devontae Adams, I got Aaron Rodgers, I got job money, man. I got a custom one too. That's the damn only one I got left. Gee, don't even buy NFL jerseys no more, dog. Don't do it. Ain't no point.
it's the same thing with college football.
Just get him with no name on the back of your name at this point. Like that's all you can do. I ain't even gonna lie. Appreciate everybody's time. Like I said, changing the stream to 1 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as per usual. Go follow my guy G-Sportz on all his socials. We got the Twitter, we got the Facebook, the Instagram, YouTube, everything linked in the description. Hit that like button on the way out. Y'all enjoy your day. We'll be back on Wednesday.